Are y'all ready for a good time? We're doing the timing today. That's what we're doing. All right, as I stated in my incredibly clever intro, we are doing the timing on the VK today, and it is going to be a good time. I'm pretty excited. We are beyond third parties working on the engine, so now the rest is on us to get this together, and we can do it as quickly as we want. So that's what I'm most excited about. It's now been 4 months since we started this video series, and I still don't have a Titan, clearly. I would like to have my truck back, so let's get this stuff done. If you want to catch up on the entire series, check out the upper right-hand corner of the screen over there, and you can catch up on all of it, right? This is I think this is going to be part 10, so got a lot of catching up to do. So we're going to do the timing, and depending on how it all goes, once the timing's done, that means the front timing cover can go on, which means the upper oil pan can go on, which means the valve covers could probably go on, and we can make this looking like an engine again. So it's a very exciting time. Let's just jump right in. Before we got started today, I went ahead and decided to sort of officially seal up the cylinders for now. And what I mean by that is I went through and I put the old spark plugs, because I haven't bought the new ones yet. I put them in. I made sure they were clean. I just wiped them off and made sure there's no junk on them. But I put them in, just put them in finger tight. And then I went back through and I taped over the cylinder heads where, of course, you have your intakes and your exhaust. All those ports I went ahead and just taped over with painter's tape to make sure that they're nice and safe. I even did it on some of the inlet ports for the antifreeze at the top of the block. Sorry, that's in the head. In the top of the head. And what else did I do? Oh, and I put some plastic over top of the cams, the valve train, to make sure, we just don't have dust and stuff flying around and landing on it. So did all that, made sure it was nice and sealed up, and now we can get started on our timing. For our timing kit, I went with a Melling kit. They've, been around a while, 1946, and I got everything that I needed. So we have our sprockets, of course, for the crank, the sprockets for the cams, tensioners, guides, and the chain. So nothing is going to be reused from the old setup. This is important because getting to this on this engine is such a huge pain that it just doesn't make sense to not completely replace everything that makes sense to replace, which is everything. So we're going to start on the right-hand side of the engine since it sits on the back sprocket on the crank. And so we're going to grab one chain. We're going to grab our tensioners for the right, my guides for the right, tensioner for the right, which is probably the thicker of the two would be my guess. Let's try that one. And the sprockets are the same. So grab one of those and two, one for your exhaust and one for your intake. And let's go get started. Now before we get started, there's two things we want to make sure of. First of all, we want the keyway in our crank to be at 45 degrees heading up the left-hand side. So obviously this would be, 0, and that's going to be 45 degrees, and then all the way sideways is 90, and so on and so forth. So we want it to be 45 degrees, and of course we want our cylinder 1 in top dead center, which, before we put our heads on, it should have been anyways. But you can confirm that by looking down on the bottom and making sure that the crank, the arm of the crank is all the way up over here, meaning it's pushing this piston all the way up. If you have that condition and this is in the 45 degree, then you know that your cylinder 1 is at top dead center. During the last video, we installed these, and we talked about these not being able to be in the correct position for now, which is okay. But these I was able to get nearly in the top position, so the install on this side is going to go real smoothly, I can already tell. Hopefully I didn't just jinx myself, but I think that'll be fine. When we get to this side, we're going to rotate them, and we'll deal with that when the time comes. But over here, they're already in this position. So 45 degrees. The pins as close to top as you can, and these pins as close to top as you can, and then let's go get our sprockets and install them. Now our sprockets are shared. We have one for the intake side that's going to be designated by a little I right here, and one for the exhaust side designated with a V, and I have no idea why, kind of should be an E. And that means that this is going to go on the exhaust, this is going to go on the intake cam. Now, these are the same for both sides, and we choose which little slot we put the pin in based on what side we're installing it on. So you'll see you have an R for the right side bank and an L for the left side. So let's go install these on the right side using the R slot in each one. So over here we have our intake, because that controls the intake valves, of course. And we slide our pin into the R slot. Grab a bolt, slide it in, finger tight. Exhaust sprocket, using the R slot again, put the pin in that slot there, grab your bolt, finger tight. All right, well, I completely forgot that you're supposed to put new engine oil on this to lubricate these threads for proper torquing. So I'm gonna spin this back out, put some oil in it, put it back in, then we're gonna tighten them down to 112 foot-pounds using the keyed portion of the cam to hold it in place. They're already pretty darn oily from before, but we're gonna go ahead and make sure that they get a nice coating of oil on them. There we go. And then spin that back in place and do the same with this one. All right, let's go get our torque wrench, set it to 112, and then we're gonna grab a nice big wrench to set on the cam. All right, so I have my torque wrench with my 17mm 1/2-inch socket on here, and I grabbed my biggest adjustable that I could find because I don't have like a crescent wrench big enough to fit this. And we're just gonna use counter pressure here and then twist this until, of course, it pops. Oh man, can't get this to play. All right, so I don't know how safe this is, but what I'm gonna do is use my wrench to basically stop against the other cam. So let's do that. Should be all right, right? Ah, there we go. Okay, that seems fine. And then for this one, I'm not sure how we're gonna do it. Let's try to do it the old-fashioned way here, the way I was just trying. Make sure that if you're using an adjustable, make sure it's as tight as it can be around that cam. You don't wanna mess this thing up. Oh, man. Whew. We're almost there, feels like. Ah, there we go. Woo! Just gotta hold on real tight. Since we're at it, just go ahead and do the exact same thing on the other side, but using the slot that says L instead of R. Next up, we want to grab the sprockets for the crank. And again, these are the same pieces. So we just want to install them where the outside, the larger diameter sort of rim, sits on the outside of it. So we're going to install it just like that. You should be able to do this one at a time. I don't think it's going to hurt anything. But, you know, so slide your first one on. And obviously you're going to have that slot that the key needs to go into. There you go. Slide it on. And then, well, really, we're going to go get our chain. You're going to have one, well, it looks, you know, kind of like gold, this little brass link there. And then you have two other ones that are, oops, let me not twist this. Good Lord, Rye. What are you doing? Wow, what a disaster. Okay. You have two other ones here that are little dark marks. And obviously they might be a little bit different for you when you, if you buy a different kit, of course, but either way, we want our gold looking link to go on the timing mark right here on the inside of this sprocket. I'll show you a close up of that. And then of course our other two are gonna line up to the alignment marks on both of the sprockets. Now this side, this one is just a little bit tilted this way. We're probably gonna have to grab a wrench and get that to go vertical. This one is almost perfectly vertical. Actually, I can hold it with my fingers and get it vertical. So what we're gonna do is grab this chain here, and I'm just gonna droop it over and get it generally in the area. In fact, I'll just install it. It's gonna fall out though, for sure. There we go. And then align this one, which it already is. Cool, all right. So that's aligned on that mark. This one over here is not. Hold on, there we go. Now that's on that mark. And so I'm gonna grab this chain and a wrench and be able to manipulate it so it lines up correctly. There we go. So when I move this around, you see I can manipulate it with the wrench here. And so now we're gonna grab this. Oops, popped right off. Go figure. No problem, just realign it. There we go. Bring this one over top. And oh gosh, we're so close. Just go like that, there you go. And then let go. Puts just a little bit of tension on it. And we are in great shape. All right, it looks like I need to turn my crank a little bit to the left. I might be a little too far because when I have all the alignment marks marked up, this is way too tight on the top side. So I'm going to just manipulate that a little bit using the bolt. Just going to slide that in. And if we use our impact, there we go. Just tightens it a tiny, tiny bit, but doesn't actually move the crank. And now if we go grab a regular ratchet, we should be able to back this off a little bit without it breaking the seal. Yeah, just like that. There we go. Now, we should be able to have no issue, and I'm going to use the impact to pull this back off actually. Now this should be a little bit easier to handle when we're getting it on here. Perfect. So now we have that slack, so we can get our chain guide in. There we go. Now that we have everything aligned, we have a little bit of tension here, but we'll deal with that after we get some other stuff in here. And we're going to want to basically catch up some of the slack, or take up some of the slack, that is. And so I'm going to grab my lower chain guard here, and I already lubricated this. So grab your lower chain guard and slide that into place. All right. And when you're grabbing these guards, you're going to have two different styles. One's going to have little offsets, and that's for the left hand. The ones without the offsets are the ones we're going to use on the right hand side. I cleaned this bolt and lubricated it well, since it's going to be technically rotating inside of here, right? This is going to be rotating around this bolt. So grab that, slide that in. We're just going to do finger tight for now. There we go. And this here is an effort to, again, make sure we're taking up as much slack as we can. There we go. That should freely rotate around that. Perfect. And now what we need to do is, as you can see with our little sprockets here, they're still on the little left-hand side. So what we want to do is rotate these just like that. And, oh, we actually had one skip. Look at us go. Hold on. There we go. Just had to pop that back in. I just rotated the other cam. So now that we have all those aligned, and I created a little bit of slack here by rotating this cam, and then of course rotating this one, we're going to put in our other guide here. Again, make sure it's well lubricated. You want to push down on this. I'm going to clean up any slack we have here. Okay. It's going to create a little bit of issues here. Let's try sliding this out a little bit. There we go. You can slide the sprocket out on the crank a little bit if you need to kind of get it all aligned in here. There we go. And then, yeah, I'm just sort of pushing it in here. We're not being crazy gentle. There we go. Slide that back. If there's too much tension, again, just grab your cam up here and rotate a little bit here, there. And it'll slide all into place. Perfect. Very good. So grab your bolts. You have a long one that sits out here. Slide that in. Grab your other one. Make sure that slides in. You have to release the tension again a little bit more. There we go. And to do that, I don't know if you can see it, I'm up here on top of the right-hand cam. Okay. You can let go on the cam. And in here, double check. You still have the slack down here, and that's okay. We haven't installed our tensioner yet. But check your markings again. Make sure on the correct links here, your links match all the markings. They still do on mine. Awesome, awesome. And now we're going to go grab our tensioner and get that one installed. Your tensioners are going to be shaped differently, but you can tell really by where the gasket used to sit that which one goes where. So this one's going to sit here, and of course your bolt holes need to match up as well. So throw those in there, and then just for now, again, slide these in and finger tighten them. All right, I just determined these are two different sizes. I forgot because on the right-hand side, again, you're going to have shorter bolts than on the left-hand side because of the distance, right, that we have to cover. So short ones go on the right-hand side. All right, leave this pin in here, and then we're going to go ahead and do the right side, and then, or excuse me, the left side, and then we're going to pop this off and get everything oiled. Okay, we're going to try the second one or by ourselves, I should say, and we'll kind of see how it goes. If you do have a second set of hands available to help you out, this is really the time to ask for it. So we have our other side of the sprocket, and we want to install it this way with the big lip on the outside, meaning facing the front. And what you'll find is, I was worried a little bit about making our timing mark, losing timing on this side and not being able to fix it, but it actually turns out that when you install this over that keyway, this little notch actually transfers that mark for you. So this notch here corresponds with the timing mark on the sprocket itself. So pretty nice. So we're going to make sure this is nice and clean. Slide it on there. Can I not see? Maybe not. Yeah, I can't see. Come on, dude. What's going on here? What is happening here? Are you serious? What is going on? This sprocket, the other one slid on just fine. This one just bound up. So when we're manipulating this, don't use the inside here. If this happens to you, I'm just going to grab some channel locks. What in the hell is going on here? There it goes. Just going to grab a smidge of oil, see if that helps. Wow, whatever. Just needs to be perfect, 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 I guess. Okay, moving on. Now find your gold looking link here, and we want to line it up on the opposite timing mark over here. I'll show you a picture, of course, to give you a close-up of that. So I'm going to rotate this, bring that up, that link there, perfect, and then just lay these over top for now. Okay. Now on this side, we're going to try something different. I'm going to grab this reusable zip tie here, and I'm going to zip it close, just like this. And hopefully what this does for us is keeps it from skipping down here while we go and mess with the ones up there. All right, hopefully that makes sense. See if that helps. Now up here, this is where you kind of need 4 hands, but I'm going to move the first cam, get the link to match up with the timing mark, then do the second one, and then while holding it all in place, I don't know how I'm going to do this, I'm going to remove the zip tie and get one of my, my chain guides, get it installed and try to hold the chain in place. So wish me luck. All right, we grab this. Remember, this one we want to rotate left. We talked about this during our install of the cams. So the same way that you installed the cams, you just use the notched portion of the cam. And I'm going to lift this off here, move it all the way up here, get the notch on the front of the cam to sit where it's supposed to be, and then mark that chain, put the little link there. There we go. So that one's in place. Am I still on time up there? I am. Now the trick here is going to be getting this thing to basically allow me to release tension on it. So let's see what happens. Oh, okay, it's in place. So now we're going to rotate the other one. Come on, baby. Don't mess with me now. All right. There we go. Rotate this one all the way up to where it's supposed to be vertical. Bring your chain all the way around. And oh no, I don't have enough slack. I'm continuing to release this. Pull the whole thing. Well, sure enough, just rotated. So let me move this one back here and get it to align right there. One more. Yes, okay. It's there. So let me hold it like this, I guess, with one hand. I don't know. Hold it like that with one hand. Is the bottom still in time? It is. Wow, I'll be damned. Okay. I'm genuinely surprised. So I'm going to grab my, what one? I'm going to grab the lower, and I'm just keeping tension on it. And we want, well, gosh, having trouble deciding. Let's use this one. All right. So this is oiled already. Just like last time, I'm going to slide it under. There we go. And now, let me get, now I'm going to somehow grab the wrench again and rotate these cams left. Oh, shit. Oh, you dumb. I put it, positioning it in the wrong place. Come on, Rye. Well, there goes that. I was putting it in the wrong place. It needs to go down here. All right, let's start over. Resetting. Fantastic. I have the correct marking on here, and then this one I'm going to release the tension on, and then we're going to come over to this cam, rotate that, and try to get that one in time. Right there. Okay. Let's do this again, shall we? So, provide that release on tension. Put it in the right hole this time. So grab that. There we go. Get it lined up. Oh, there we go. Nice. Come on. All right. I'm gonna swap my fingers here. There we go. Make sure. Yes. Okay. Woo. We're doing it. Now, let's take a look. We're good there, and still good there. Awesome. Grab our other tensioner, or guide. I keep saying tensioner, don't know why, don't care. Grab that and get that in place as well. I think this is actually gonna work. There's that. One, the other. We're almost there. Should, theoretically, well, you know what? Should be able to let go. Now, grab your other tensioner, slide that into position. Looks like we have to really get on that one. Might have to release some tension again. So let's grab our wrench, put it back on your top cam, your intake cam. Rotate left. And get those bolts in. Beautiful. Oh my gosh. Not bad, huh? Who needs friends? I don't need any friends. Woo! 2 hands. Timing is on. All right, I'm feeling pretty pumped. So, again, the things you want to check. Look at all your alignment marks again. Make sure that the pins in the cams are facing exactly up on both sides. Basically pointing up on the cylinder head, not necessarily up as in, straight up. So straight up there, make sure your marks are corresponding with the chain links, the colored chain links on all 4 sprockets, that is. So both on both sides, both looking good. And down here, check your alignment marks on your crank. The one over here corresponds with this notch, and the one on the other side corresponds with the other notch. And you can kind of follow it through and see that it's on the correct link. So this is awesome. Next up, we're going to want to tighten these all down to spec. I don't know what they are. I got to find that out for you while I go eat lunch. And then once these are all tightened to spec, we're going to go back through and oil all of this aggressively and make sure it's nice and oiled up, because the last thing we want to do is start this up dry. That would be insane. So we'll figure that out, and then we'll keep going. Let's put what would be next? Oil pump, and then probably the timing cover. That would be really, really cool. All right, I'm back from lunch, well fed, and I learned a little bit about our torque specs. So our guides are going in at 12 foot-pounds, and our tensioners go in at 61 inch-pounds. So let's go knock those out. These are an H6 size. And our tensioners are H5, and those are, again, 61 inch-pounds on those. Excellent. At this point, we can pull the pins on our tensioners. There we go. Next, we're going to grab some oil, and I'm going to run oil all the way around this sucker. Get as much as you can down here on the sprocket, because we're about to put our oil pump on. That's going to cover all that up. And yeah, and that's it. Get oil all over everything. All right, definite overkill just pouring it on, but frankly, it's probably the quickest way to do it. I, of course, have my drain pans down below. All right, I'm gonna get something to get it up on here. I poured some down there, but it's not gonna travel all the way down. Don't forget to show your tensioners some love. They're gonna want some as well. Excellent. It's a bit messy. Not the best way to do it, I'm sure. We have oil, so there you go. It's all oiled up. And speaking of oil, that's what we're doing next. We are doing our oil pump. So this one I went OEM. See, it says Nissan on there. And we have a couple size bolts. We have a long one, a couple long ones, and a couple short ones. And you'll be able to tell, like for instance, a long one goes in here, short one goes in there. So just slide this over the crank here and have at least 2 ready to slide in so it kind of locates it. Am I doing this right? Yeah, this is down below. So this slides in like this. There we go. I'm going to grab a short one. I think I have 2 short ones, so we'll grab that. And then this one here. This one seems, oh, there's a little pin on this. You see right there, you have a little pin that kind of needs to get, I guess, pushed on or hammered on. I guess sort of, I don't know, sort of pushed on. There's 2, actually. There's one over here as well. Oh, shit. Let me go back these out now because I don't want these to cross thread. I didn't realize there was little like locator pins on it. So I'm going to grab a deadbolt hammer. I'm going to hold it in place, just gently tap it in. There we go. That one looks good. So does that. Perfect. Now that those are in place, grab your bolts here and finger tighten them on. Now these are 10 millimeter bolts and they're going to go in at 8 foot-pounds. So I don't think I have a torque wrench that goes to 8 foot-pounds. So I'm going to grab my inch-pound and then just multiply by 12 to get my inch-pound, which is 96. So put these in at 96 inch-pounds or 8 foot-pounds. And let's grab our little key and we'll put it in. They don't give you an order to put these in, so we're just going to go around. All right, that's done. And now this is a really good example as to why we don't throw away parts until we're done with our rebuild. This little slot here, this slots in and turns our oil pump. The new oil pump did not come with this. So you want to make sure you retain these things when you buy new parts, and that way you're not without. You don't have to go buy another one. So I'm just going to slap a little oil on this to make the job easier, get this installed. And then if this doesn't line up, which it looks like it's not going to, we just got to rotate the oil pump, so the gear inside the oil pump, to match up, and then it should slide in. So it sits like this. It looks like basically it needs to be vertical. So here, rotate that. Easy enough. So you can get that to line up. Don't do this again. There we go. Awesome. Slid right in. There you go. So now, obviously, as the crank rotates, it's going to turn the oil pump assembly and then, of course, give the engine oil. Now that that's done, I think we're ready to put the timing cover on. Very exciting. For our front timing cover, you, of course, want to go through and clean all of the RTV out of all the grooves. Clean it up as much as you can. And, I did that all, gosh, I don't know, probably months ago at this point. But we're also going to replace our front seal as well that goes over our crank. Now, if you watched the video where we did the rear main seal, it's basically the same process, right? Just on a little smaller scale. The seal is just going to be a little bit, literally just a little bit smaller. So I'm going to grab my seal puller. We're going to find a place to get underneath this and yank it out. This old one I just left on while I painted, so that way I didn't have to mask. Woo! There you go. So we pop that off. That's our old crusty one. Here's our new one. And I'm just going to go in here and clean. It's actually quite disgusting. So I'm going to go in here and just carve out some garbage. Wow, that's pretty funky. And then we'll just do a brief final cleaning to clean up anything I get off here before putting on the RTV and putting it on the engine. Once you have that nice and clean, grab your seal. And the side that's open, where you can sort of visibly see a spring, that goes on the inside, and the other one goes on the outside. There we go. Kind of get that lined up there. I couldn't find a socket that would fit, but we do have our idler pulley actually. And I think, we don't have to hit it that hard. So I'm just going to use that to try to kind of as my drift. Yeah, see how that goes. Oh, it's working. Now, I'm chipping off a little paint here, but we'll never see that. This is actually going in really easily. Let's see if I can completely f this thing up, huh? It actually looks really good. All right, that went surprisingly well. So that's in, and now we're gonna flip it over. I'll do a final clean, make sure everything's nice and clean. We're gonna flip it over, put RTV on, and we'll get this sucker on the front of the engine. This next step we need to prepare for. And the first thing you want to do is get your O-ring replacement and put it right here. Now this is the main oil galley for the crank, very important one. You really don't want to reuse this O-ring. So I have a new one. I went OEM and just made sure I got it directly from Nissan because it makes me nervous using aftermarket stuff. And I just dipped it in oil and I'm going to stick it right there. And when we go and install the cover, I'm going to take a peek looking straight down and make sure that that's not out of place. You also want to make sure that the entire surround, so the entire area that you're going to be getting this RTV on, which is what we're about to do, is nice and clean. So make sure you go through and do that. Now there was definitely a few spots I wanted to clean up, so I just went back through, made sure it was clean and dry, and now I'm ready to go grab our cover, get some RTV on it, and get this sucker installed. For this, we're going to just follow the groove effectively. We want to be on the inside of all of the bolt holes or all the pass-throughs, and just go easy. You don't want to go crazy, especially up here because the chain sits so close to this. So run a bead around it. What does it say? How thick does it want to be? 2.6 to 3.6 millimeters. Okay, whatever. We're not going to be that specific, but we just run a bead through the groove, and then we just go press it on. Now get your bolts ready that you took off, and if you did it like I did it, I punched them through all of the pieces of cardboard to make sure that I knew where everything went, and then I'll show you how to tighten them all down and in what order and all that. I'm using Permatex Ultra Gray again. Here we go. The key here is to not rush, especially when you get near the end and you're like, oh yeah, 6 inches left or whatever. Just keep it steady. All right, and go easy. Now I favored the outside, meaning there's a little groove in there, and that groove is really for expansion. So when you press on it and it starts to move closer to the components, it doesn't actually get all over them, right? It gives you a little room to squeeze in there. So that's why I kind of favor the outside. This has a pretty decent working time. Take your time and look around and check your bead here. And you can dollop a little bit here and there to make yourself feel good about what you did. So I'm pretty terrible at this stuff, but I've done it before successfully. Again, just sort of favored the outside and made that one ludicrously long bead here all the way around. That's kind of messy. I gotta look at that. But there you go. I'm going to do a final check, and then we're going to go stick it on there. All right, I feel pretty good with it. We have one pin here at the bottom, and we have one pin here. So we want to line those up. Make sure you're grabbing it in such a way that you're not touching any of this. Let me grab it here and here. There we go. And again, I'm going to watch my, my O-ring as I put this on. All right, so far so good. Let's find that one guide pin there. There it is. And then over here, find that other pin. There it is. Awesome. And now, I'm going to push it on. There we go. Grab a flashlight. One last check of my O-ring. Yep, it's in place. So we're just gonna give it a little press. There it is. Whew. Okay, grab your bolts. Here they are. And I'm gonna grab just a few here and get them going. All right, with all those in place, we're going to use our 10 millimeter just to set it in place. So that way we can let the RTV cure and sit, and then you have to do the final torquing after it's sit for an hour. Or after it's sat for an hour, that is. All right, with that installed, and these just hand tightened, I just went through in the correct numerical order, which I'll of course show on the screen. I went through and just hand tightened each one of these, and then I set a 1 hour timer. In 1 hour, we're gonna come back and we'll torque these down in the correct order and the correct torque spec, of course. In places where you don't have bolts, you should have a nice little bead coming out all the way around. And then once you, obviously near the bolts, it's going to go away because we went on this side of the bolt as opposed to on the outside. So, but follow it along, make sure you have it. And of course you can wipe off any excess. So this kind of stuff right here, I'm gonna wanna clean off and just get that nice and tidied up before we move on to the next step. All right, it's been an hour, or at least close enough to it. And now we're gonna go through and do our final torquing of all the bolts on the front timing cover. Now, we're gonna do them in this order. And I looked in the manual and it said 8 foot-pounds, which seems really low, but if there is any correction, I'll make sure to put it in the description down below. So for now, we're gonna do it all in this order at 8 foot-pounds. So let's do it. All right, that's it. Awesome. So I'm already noticing that my high temperature paint is cracking underneath when I start to torque the bolts. Not the end of the world. I'm just gonna avoid, of course, getting it into this area, right, into the timing area. So I'll probably just leave it as it is, button up everything else, so cover this all up, and then just go back through with a little wire brush and just brush off the little pieces that are breaking off. Really no big deal. You're not even gonna notice it. It'll just look like almost like there's a washer or something on it. So anyways, doesn't matter. That's all we're gonna do today. So let's close this thing out. I am getting really excited about this. I am really wanting my Titan back. I'm very much over having this thing sitting in my garage. I'd like to be done with this project, but next week will probably be our last engine building video. We're gonna do our upper and lower oil pans, probably the drive plate, the harmonic balancer, and the water pump, maybe a couple other things. But then once we get to that point and we have the main components put back together, it's really just reversing the steps that we took to take it all off. So I'm not gonna create a video where I just reverse all of the steps that I did previously. So we'll do that, and then we'll likely do a video of getting it back into the Titan. And then again, we're gonna take a break because it's just gonna be reversing the steps, putting all the things back on. And then we'll do a video on the first start, prepping it for our first start, and test driving it, watching it run for the first time. So it'll be very exciting. But regardless, I really appreciate you watching. Definitely subscribe. We're gonna continue, obviously, when we're done with this project, we're gonna find other stuff to do. We just bought another car as well. Can't stop doing that. Somebody please send help. But we have that project we're gonna start on pretty soon, and all kinds of stuff. So if you like this video, please go ahead, scroll down, click that like button. Again, subscribe, support the channel. If this video, saved you a lot of time or money, maybe send me a little tip. Scroll down, click that that thanks button, send me a super thanks down below. So I guess that's it. We'll see you next week.